I think this is such an important point when it comes to any plan, whether it's your personal plans, your business plan, your family plan, anything else like that, right? You don't want to just build the plan and put it in a drawer and never look at it again. Consistently look at it, especially if it's kind of the first few iterations building your plan. The likelihood of you getting it right the first time is pretty low. That's why we look for fast feedback loops. That's why we try to work through this prioritization side of things. That information allows you to become a better planner.
Kay and Tanner here, and today we're going to be taking a deeper dive into creating your action plan that works for you and your business, as well as give you some tangible tips on how to turn this idea of your action plan into your reality. And so, super excited to dive into this topic and learn more about action plans and how they can really benefit you and then make things actually happen. So, Tanner, let's kick it off.
Well, yeah, excited to jump into this topic. And for those of you that are like just tuning in that haven't seen the video from last week or haven't listened to the podcast from last week, highly encourage you to do so. We kind of went into probably a little bit more detail or a lot of like information in a short span of time on planning overall. So we were thinking about it this morning, kind of sitting down, chatting, and putting down a few pieces. Like, how do we talk about this topic even deeper? Because we got a lot of good response from that conversation. So it's really like, what are the action steps that we can take, and how do we turn a plan into reality? And had a few bullet points I think would be valuable for us to at least cover as we kind of go through the conversation today.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Action steps for your action plan. That's going to be so fun, especially because yes, we covered a lot of ground last week and I think it's great to kind of like deep dive into making these things your reality. So, yeah, what are some of the things you're thinking of or you have bullet pointed to make this your reality?
Yeah, so if we look at, I kind of came up with five bullet points. So I'll share kind of each of the five, and then we can kind of dig into each one as we go. But the first one is having a weekly planning routine. Second one is really focusing on the daily tasks. Then third bullet point was tracking metrics in real time, not just like looking at them historically, but how do we look at this, in real time, holding ourselves accountable, and then having a regular review of the plan. And I think we talked about briefly last week, not just making a plan once and sticking it in the drawer, and then looking at it again at the end of the year and going, yeah, did I hit it? So those are kind of the main points. But when we talked about planning last week, it was really getting down into what's the activity, what's going to be required in order to move the plan forward. So we talked in business, right? I can't just say go get more sales. There's got to be activity that leads to that process. So how do we get to that? So weekly planning routine, that is kind of the first one. And there's two ways that I see kind of taking a look at this. The first one is when you're doing the planning, getting granular enough in the planning process itself that you can see what are the weekly chunks that need to get done. So when we do like 90-day planning as an example, we always build that as a 13-week plan. So we build kind of here's what the outcomes are and kind of building all the way back like we talked about last week. But then where does that go on a 13-week process, right? We actually have grids and we put out little sticky notes of the different things that are going to happen weekly for there. Because when we start the planning process that way, it builds the opportunity then to sit down every single week and say, are we on track? Are we off on track? What are the things that need to get done? We can start to create that routine, which it takes us down to two different lists, and there's the weekly list and the daily list. The weekly list is here's the things that I need to accomplish next week, and having that pre-planned on like a Friday before you head into the weekend, so that when you get to work on Monday, or whatever your start of the week actually is, you've got those things lined up and ready to go, and say these are the big kind of blocks that I need to get done this week to be on track for plan. So I think that's kind of one big piece, is knowing how do I create a basic routine around the weekly planning so that we're ready to go and we're staying on track with these things.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking notes here, guys, because Tanner's like given so much great information. And yes, I think that's huge, especially making that healthy habit of sitting down and finding that day that works for you. Maybe for someone in, say, a different type of industry, sitting down on a Monday is a great day to do your week if you have to work through the weekend or something. So I think that's really huge that, know that you can tailor this for your needs, but it's all about finding that time that works best for you to sit down and go through that week. So I think that's hugely important. Thank you for sharing about that. And so next you were talking about like more of a daily routine. So
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah, yeah.
going with
So,
that.
we talked a lot about getting to the granularity of like the activity. What's required specifically for us to go do, or a team to go do? And I think that's where the action coach founder Brad Sugars, he's always talked about the most important plan is the daily plan, and having daily lists and things like that. And that's where kind of this daily task piece comes in. So we know, here's the annual things that we need to accomplish. Here's what needs to happen each quarter. We go down to each week. Now, in each week, what are the things that I need to accomplish today? And, that's not a list of 20 things. It's a list of maybe half a dozen, up to six things. And oftentimes that's too many, within a
Mhm.
day. But what are the, one, two, three, four top things that I have to go do today to be on track for the week, and then ultimately for the month, quarter, year, etc. So this could be, if you're thinking sales and just going out and getting business and things like that, it's not, I need to go make this many sales today. It's, I know that I have a specific activity, which is I need to send 50 messages on Instagram to people that I haven't messaged before, and I need to reply to 50 messages that I've gotten. I don't know, something like that. That's very activity based. That this
Mhm.
is what I have to do today, and I need to do it within a certain time period. Like getting to that level to be able to then say, here's my plan for the day. I'm going to go accomplish it. Just like the weekly plan, those daily tasks, we plan them a day ahead of time. So I usually recommend before, the last thing that you do to end your working day. So whether that's, at say 5 o'clock, or if you work till 7, or whatever the end of your kind of working day is for you, the last thing that you do is you sit down and you build out, here's my plan for tomorrow. Knowing the weekly things that we have to accomplish this week, what's been accomplished so far, what do I need to do tomorrow to be successful, so that when you wake up, when you start work, whenever that is, it's already there. You don't have to think about it, don't have to worry about it. It's there. You're ready to take the action, and you just go, and then you build that momentum, and then the day can kind of flow from there.
Oh, I like that. And there's a couple of things I want to kind of touch on because, a couple of things really struck me. And I wonder if other business owners feel this way too, is the list. Sometimes I sit down and I have 12, 13, 14 items on my list and then I get overwhelmed. So I like that you brought it down to like up to six, think about what is actually doable in a day rather than biting off too much, which I tend to do. As I'm like, oh, I could do these things and then add these things. So, how do we go about maybe selecting the items that would be the best if we have, say, a really heavy a workload or list without
Mm-hmm.
reaching that overwhelm?
Yeah, there's it, I think it's going to be a practice is what's going to really be required, and kind of it's more about what you're not going to do than the things that you are going to do.
Ooh.
And which is kind of a hard thing to say, because like you, I usually have a lot of things on my lists. I'm the type of person that'll probably put something on a list just to cross it off. But you look at it and say, all right, I've got 100 things that I can do. Well, I can't realistically do 100 things. They're all important. So which ones are going to
Mm,
be the most important? Which is the one that if I complete this one task, it either checks other boxes in the task list as well, or it completely negates the need for those. Right? I could go do these three other tasks, but if I do this one thing over here, those other three probably don't even matter. So
mhm,
like really thinking through and prioritizing, what is the biggest lever? Where is my time most? Where is the use of my time most valuable? And I talk a lot about, in business, it's really all about allocating resources. And one of those resources is time. So how do we get the greatest return on our time? So I think that's kind of the framework that I tend to think about. But it's really thinking through, what are the things that I'm not going to do? What are the things that I'm going to say it's okay to just put that on a separate list, that's maybe the parking lot, I'll come back to it. Or here's the things that if I can pull more stuff in, and work on things, I'll pull from this other list over here, but here's the two or three that I have to get done. Like, this is top priority, and as
mhm.
long as I focus on these, we're going to be able to move things forward. So prioritization is a big one. I had heard something last week that I think kind of fits into this, that I really really enjoyed, and it was thinking through consecutive task type things or multitasking, and you can get so much more done by doing consecutive tasks where you give one focus to one task all the way through completion and then move on to the next one. Uses less brain power, and like you actually get more done that way. Like you get three things done that way versus, yeah, I'm going to try and do three things at a time because I think I can do it and I think I can multitask, and really none of them get done well, and it takes you way longer than just doing it like I'm going to do this one task all the way through completion. None of the rest of the things matter until this is done, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. So those kind of things is how I tend to think through removing the overwhelm, and really just focusing on what are the things I'm not going to do, because reality is we can't get absolutely everything done.
Oh, that is so true. You touched on a lot there. I could, again, we could make this a whole episode in itself. But yes, there's so many things there that I resonate with. And you're right. Like, just, I catch myself sometimes skipping, toggling between tasks, not actually tasking. It's actually, you're just toggling, and that takes all that brain energy. So, sitting down and really focusing, if that means you're silencing your phone for a while, or if that means turning off your email for an hour, uh, then that sometimes helps. You can kind of eliminate some of that noise to help you hyper focus on some things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Uh, so when we look at the kind of the last three bullet points here on kind of the action steps to take as you build your plan, right? Tracking metrics in real time, I think, is another like big one to keep in mind. So I'm a big tracking guy. Like I want to know all the data, all the numbers, because it helps us make decisions down the line, helps us become better planners, over the long period of time. But being able to look at things in real time, I think is really important. Now, whatever metrics you're choosing to track within your plan, now whether that's sales conversations, that's some sort of customer success metric, it's whatever it is you choose to track. Making sure that you're looking at how can I get as close to real time data as possible, because what that does, that closes the feedback loop, so you can see the actions I take, how what is the response in the metrics that I'm tracking. If we're only looking at the metrics at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, it's very difficult to get that feedback loop. So that regularly tracking of whatever that data point is in real time or as close to real time as possible really makes your daily tasks and your weekly tasks and everything that much more effective, because you can see what's actually happening and you can make adjustments in real time. Like, okay, I had these things on my weekly plan, but because I'm tracking these things, well, maybe that one thing I chose or those three things I chose for today really weren't the right ones, and I need to kind of work through my prioritization. Measuring in real time allows us to be able to make those decisions in real time and adjust accordingly.
100%. So I think that's a really great way to do it. And that's something I've learned in Action Coach too, just learning how to track my numbers and in real time. It's just so helpful, whether you're tracking you know, sales, or you're tracking like your different collaborations and like partnerships. That's a big one that I was like, I didn't even know how to do that. And so I think that's one thing that Action Coach has really been teaching me, is how to again, track those numbers more efficiently.
Mm-hmm. So to kind of bring it home, hold yourself accountable. That's bullet point number four, and it sounds easy to do, especially if you're kind of a highly disciplined person, but is almost always more difficult in practice than it is in theory. Um, Sometimes it's easier to hold other people accountable than it is to hold yourself accountable. There's kind of those pieces there. So that's why I love kind of the three bullet points before this: the tracking the things in real time, seeing the daily tasks, the weekly tasks. It becomes a little bit easier to say, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing or not? Like, am I getting through to the activity that I have to do? If I said I was going to go talk to 5 people this week, did I talk to the 5 people? No, I talked to 4. Okay, so why? What happened? How do I change that for next week? Because that's clearly not going to get me to my goal. I have to take responsibility and accountability over that. So holding yourself accountable, and then kind of that final bullet point, regular review. Um, I think this is such an important point when it comes to any plan, whether it's your personal plans, your business plan, your family plan, anything else like that, right? You don't want to just build the plan and put it in a drawer and never look at it again. Consistently look at it, especially if it's kind of the first few iterations building your plan. The likelihood of you getting it right the first time is pretty low. That's why we look for fast feedback loops. That's why we try to work through this prioritization side of things. That information allows you to become a better planner. And it's okay to make changes in real time. Like, okay, I'm off my plan because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Now, was that because I didn't have the metrics right? Is it because I didn't do the activity? What do I need to change today to allow me to continue to be on track for my overall goal that I'm looking to achieve? But I don't know that unless I'm regularly reviewing the plan. So that's why that's
Mhm.
kind of the final point, and it's really a culmination of the 4 points that we talked about so far.
Oh, 100%. And one of my tips for this is like, I always have an accountability buddy. And that's like, so that person that, because for myself, I can like blow myself off when I wouldn't do that for somebody else. And I know like I'm working on internally not blowing myself off. But what really helps with that is like having that coach in your corner or, a business partner or just an accountability mentor, something where y'all kind of sit on talk about it together. And then that also helps them too, especially if it's like a business partner or a coach. It's just a really great way to, put that time on the calendar for once a week, make it happen, and really move the needle forward with the aspects of your business. So I think this is like such great tips, Tanner.
Thank you. And yeah, you hit it right on the head with the accountability piece. And especially if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur that's listening to this, it's why obviously I'm biased. We're in the coaching space, but having that coach that can hold you accountable, it's I almost want to call it underrated. Like it is so critical to long-term success is having somebody external that can hold you accountable when really it's your business. Like no one has to hold you accountable. You get to make the choices. So having that outside piece is really important. Like full disclosure, we have a coach that coaches us. Like we believe in that so much, and our business has grown because we have somebody that holds us accountable. Like we have to send management reports to our coach every week, which is not something everybody does, right? But we're held to account on the things that we said we were going to put into our plan. And so regardless of what you choose, find somebody, kind of like you said, an accountability partner, whatever it is, find somebody who can hold you accountable, and the likelihood of success goes up.
Oh, 100%. Tanner, this is such great advice and great nuggets of wisdom and just like sharing stories of our own. Like you said, you have a coach, I have a coach. I love Action Coach, and it does make me stay accountable for my business growth as well. So, thank y'all for tuning into this. This was great, and we'll see you again next week.